Okay, so in my lesson with Bryce and Brigham, my plan is to have it in the back of my car because I know it's going to be really cold outside and it might be a little bit windy, and since we're dealing with fire and matches and things like that, um, and tea bags, and those are really, really thin, I don't want them to blow away or to blow out. And so for the physical arrangement of the classroom, so to say, or where the lesson will take place, um, I'm going to have a plate laid out with um, with the matches and the lighter and a few different crayons so that the boys can pick from them, and it might create situational interest. They'll be like, why are those there? And then on top of that, I'm going to have my hair down to start out with, because right at the beginning of the lesson, I'm going to ask them to describe to me what fire is like, what it does, what it's used for, and then I'm going to ask them for, that's basically to help them come up with their own defining characteristics or their own prototype of fire. I tried to introduce a prototype in my lesson ad when I struck a match, and hopefully they saw the flame in that video. And then after that, I want to go over a few basic safety rules to do with fire. And so with my hair down, that will allow me to give them a visual as I pull my hair up into a ponytail. So that'll be some good visualization for them, something that they can think about, because they, as boys with short hair, they generally don't think about that. And then I'm also hoping to use certain questions, and that will help me in order to cue them and to help lead them along in finding answers or finding things, or like the next steps that they need to do, or the reasons behind what they're doing without me having to tell them directly. And as far as the lesson goes, as I give them instructions, I want to use more informational language than control, because I feel like it'll help it stick better in their brains if they can kind of determine what needs to happen based on the why, or they can determine the how based on what needs to happen. And I feel like if I use too much control language, then I take away from their opportunity to evaluate for themselves. And so at the beginning of the lesson, I'm going to start with a pre-test. I'm going to kind of see where they're at, if there's anything that I need to introduce to them before we proceed with the lesson. And then I'm also hoping that throughout the lesson, maybe while they're peeling the crowns or trying to melt the wax in the crowns in order to waterproof the actual matches, maybe I can ask them for experiences that they've had with camping and campfires or matches in the past, or maybe when they've fallen into a river, and if they were carrying matches, oh no, they're wet. So to kind of help them remember situations that they've been through, to help them understand why waterproofing matches would be a valuable skill to them, because they can retrieve it from their long-term memory and apply it to now. And then I also, the reason why I wanted to teach Bryce and Brigham together was so that I could kind of see how they interacted with each other, how they motivated each other, maybe to see if it held one of them back, like perhaps Brigham, since he's younger than Bryce, maybe he would kind of rely more on his brother, maybe he had some sort of learned helplessness, and another reason why I wanted to teach them together was to see what kind of motivation they had to try something new, because I'm pretty sure neither one of them have ever held fire before, and that's what we're going to get into with the magic trick. And so I know that in my family's case, sometimes if I have a brother or a sister there and they're more nervous than I am, then I'm extrinsically motivated, because I'm like, oh, I I need to prove to them that it's going to be okay and that I can really do this. Or they might have some sort of intrinsic motivation. They might have some inner motivation for themselves to really prove to themselves that they can do it. And so I kind of wanted to evaluate that as well. And then another thing that I wanted to test with teaching Bryce and Brigham together was to look at their attribution theory. If something does go wrong, to see if they would bounce off of each other, or if they would maybe blame me or the environment, because it will probably be cold and windy, which might make it a little bit harder to work with fire. And then I also wanted to evaluate their self-efficacy and their self-concept, because I'm pretty sure in their self-concept they know that they're not fireproof. And I want to see their self-efficacy and how well they, or how confident they feel in working with fire. I'm also hoping that while I teach them at the same time, I'll be able to see if they incorporate Edward de Bono's 6 hats theory, the parallel thinking theory. I want to see if they can come up with creative ways to incorporate the steps of the lesson, and see if they can bounce off of each other and use that parallel thinking. And finally, in the lesson, as I teach them, I am hoping to figure out their zone of proximal development, just to make sure that that they really can, that this activity is appropriate for 12 and 10-year-olds. And I'm hoping that they'll be really excited about this and want to show their family about it afterwards, and that will help them with their ability to store and retrieve from their working memory. Hopefully their sensory motor, sensory register allows them to focus and to bring all of the stimuluses that I present to them into their working memory, which hopefully gets assimilated and is kept in long-term memory. But other than that, I'm just going to be teaching them how to shave crowns, how to melt the wax off the crowns, dip the matches in the hot wax. Then I'll have them dip those waterproofed matches into the snow or in a glass of water or whatever I have nearby, to show them that yes, these are really waterproof. And then I'll have them strip the wax away from the matches that they just made and use those matches in order to perform the magic trick, which will basically just be making a tea bag rocket. You can look up any videos like on YouTube, and they have a lot of examples of that, but you're basically cutting off the top and the bottom of a tea bag, emptying out the tea and holding it up so it's kind of like a good cylinder shape. And then you light the top on fire, and you can hold it in your hand, and it's kind of scary because the fire gets all the way down to the bottom right before it right before it touches your hand, it flies up into the air. And so I'm hoping that they're excited with that. I might see a little bit of debilitating anxiety or state anxiety, especially in Brigham as he's a little bit younger, while they're watching the flame get closer to their hand. But other than that, that is my lesson, and I hope they enjoy it.